Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So a lot of you had requested me for a video on how to make concrete pots because I know pots can be really expensive. I completely agree with you guys. Even in my city, the ceramic pots or the concrete pots, in fact I won't get small concrete pots. I usually get ceramic pots which are very expensive, and they don't work really well for my requirement. So I prefer to make pots at home. Now for that purpose we would require the materials for making a pot. So over here the first thing that I have is sand. Now we all know this sand is from the filtration. When I tend to filter the river sand, whatever fine sand is left behind is what I collect and keep aside, because this is what's going to help us in making our pots. The material that is left in the filtration in the net, that is what I use it for the soil, and the leftover sand that tends to fall from the filtration is what I collect and keep in order to make pots. This is very important. I'm going to talk about it in some time. So we need fine sand, any sand will do. Then we need the cement, which is again the main ingredient. Now I'm using grey sand, the Portland cement. You can use any cement, white or grey, but I would always advise to go with grey cement because this is much more stronger and more durable compared to the white cement. Then of course you need water and a spoon to mix everything. Now the reason why I said sand is very important, remember guys, this works as an aggregate. You cannot have concrete without the aggregate. Aggregate is basically something that is going to bind with the cement and water. In order to make concrete you need three components, that is the cement, aggregate, which can be sand, small gravel, aquarium sand, any sand, but there has to be some aggregate, and then the third component is water. So when you mix cement, the aggregate and water, you tend to get concrete. If you're going to miss out on this and you're only going to use cement and water, it is not going to work out. You will definitely get a pot like in a mold, but it is going to be like a piece of chalk and it will break easily. Just by squeezing it, the pot will break. So the aggregate is very important, which can be anything. As I said, it can be sand, it can be fine sand, it can be a granular sand, anything is okay. Now what are the quantity that we are going to be using? The aggregate is going to be less as compared to the cement. Let's say we are going to take cement 3 parts, so we're going to take 2 parts of our aggregate or the fine sand. So 3 parts and 2 parts, and then we are going to slowly mix the water. Now coming to the containers, because we are making the pot and pot method, we would require 2 containers for every pot. This is my signature pot that I usually tend to make. You might have seen it. I'm putting up on the screen. You can see these are my beautiful round pots. So I get these pots from this container. I have just washed them. So you need one container, the outer container, and then you need the inner container. Your inner container should be smaller than the outer container. You cannot have a container that completely fuses in. Otherwise, your inner container will get fused and it is not going to come out. You need to have the inner container should be smaller than the outer container. Same thing goes with the bigger one, because I've started to make these larger pots. So you need outer container which is larger, and then you need a smaller container that fits in. So you need to have the inner container like this. It should fit in like this. At the same time, it should have enough space in the sides, because that's what's going to give us the edge. So now let's mix our concrete. Now I don't have a large container. I was trying to find a large container. Now because I've been doing this for quite some time, I'm very well versed with what is the quantity that I would require. Now this is already 3 parts. So I'm going to put 2 parts of this sand in this. That's about it. Now what I usually prefer to do is, before I add water, I prefer to mix it thoroughly. And now that it is mixed, what I do is I start adding water. Now always remember guys, do not add too much of water. Go very slow. You have to add water in a very small quantities, because we do not want to make the mixture very runny. At the same time, we do not want to make it very thick. We need to have that paste like consistency, which is not very thick, which is not very runny. So we will keep mixing it. This takes a lot of time. So I will keep adding water and mixing it slowly. As I said, this is what takes a lot of time, but we have to go very slow, because if you're going to make a very watery solution or a very watery mix, then your concrete is going to be very weak. And if you're going to make a very thick consistency, then it's going to be very difficult to put the mold, and again there will be a lot of cracks in the final pot. So we have to have a right consistency. So I'll quickly mix everything, and I'm going to show you the consistency in a while. So here we go, the concrete mix is ready. You can see it's not very runny, it's not very thick. It should look exactly like this. So now we are ready to put it into our molds. Now another important thing that I forgot to mention, please do not use anything other than plastic or silicone. Even the plastic should be a soft plastic, as you can see, soft plastic. Please do not use metal, please do not use ceramic, earthen pots or glassware in order to cast a mold. It has to be plastic or silicone. It's better to go with the soft plastic than hard plastic. If you're going with hard plastic, you'll have to put in some oil. But if you're doing this for the first time, I would say add in some oil, grease, anything that you have that is going to work as a lubricant, and then the pot can easily come out. Now because I have very soft plastic, I don't have to be worried. I don't use any oil. But if you're doing it for the first time, just add some oil. But please do not use metal, ceramic, earthen pots, glass. This will not work out. Your concrete will get fused to that material. Only silicone and plastic is what tends to work out. So let me first cast this one, the round one. This is, as I said, is my signature pot shape, which I really love a lot. So I'm going to start pouring in the concrete. Now you have to ensure that you know how much to add, because you do not want to put in too much, otherwise everything is going to spill out. Now is the next important thing. This is optional, because if you want to have a very smooth pot without any holes, you'll have to tap and release all of the air bubbles. You can see these bubbles, because if you're going to leave them as it is, then your pots are going to have those cavities. It looks good in a way. Some people do like it. Some people who prefer to have a very smooth finish pot, then you'll have to tap. Now this depends. Probably you can do this for another 2 or 3 minutes to ensure that all of the air bubbles are released from the pot. I'll probably show you later on how it looks with the holes in the pot if you don't tap. So I will do this for another couple of minutes till we release all of the air bubbles. So now that we have released all of the air bubbles, now we will put the inner container. Again, if you are a beginner, it is better to add oil or lubrication in the inner container as well. After that, I'm going to add some weights in this pot so that the pot can settle in, and again start tapping it from the sides. I think one is enough. Luckily this time the mold was good enough, so I'm going to tap once again to release all the air pockets and to ensure that the inner container is properly fit. And there we go, we are done. There we go, we are done with our first pot. Now this is going to be sitting in this container for at least 48 hours minimum. After 48 hours we will unmold it, and I'm going to show you the entire process. So I will meet you after 48 hours. I'm going to do the same process for this one as well. It is going to be the same process. It is going to take a lot of my material. So this one is also going to be the same process like how I did it for the other pot. So the same thing, I have filled in the mixture in the larger bowl, and now we have to just tap and release all of the air bubbles. It is going to be the same process like how we did it for the other pot. So now that all of the air bubbles are released, we are going to put our inner container. And of course we need some weight. I don't have anything else heavy. Pot of my Cryptoseedum ghosty that I had recently done some cuttings. I'm going to be using that, and we will start to tap again. So this one is also set. We will push in a little bit, tap from the sides so that the inner mold can fit in properly, and that's about it. I think I'll have to add in a little bit more weight. In order to have a proper symmetrical pot, we need to have the proper gap in between all the sides. So for that, I think I'll have to add another weight and then push it in. But this is going to be the same process by putting in the weight and by ensuring that all of the sides have the same shape. That's about it. I will put some more weight and I'm going to keep it. This one also will be kept aside for 48 hours. Now guys, please remember, this should not be placed in direct sunlight. We want the cement or the concrete to cure at a very slow rate. So this is going to be kept in the storeroom. Even the other one is going to be kept in the storeroom because I'm not very sure, it might rain. I don't want the concrete to get wet, so I'm going to keep it in a safe place. Do not expose it to direct sunlight. If you're going to expose it to direct sunlight, the concrete will cure faster and it will develop cracks. So I will get back to you after 48 hours when I'm about to unmold them.